does Reform Conference over the weekend prove they just aren't a serious party? Right. I won't come to you first, Sarah. Let's go to Dan.
Well, let's take the second part of the question. I was actually surprised. I mean, I had a couple of days at Reform Conference, and on the surface it was very professional, it was very slick. But the message I've been getting constantly since the election, and let's be honest, the remarkable rise of reform from senior reform officials has been they appreciate the need to modernise, to reach out, to move beyond their, if you like, their sort of relatively narrow base to take the next step. And I, frankly, was pretty shocked and amazed at some of the things I saw at the conference. Obviously, and I've written about this, the most obvious one, literally having on the main sort of platform Lucy Connolly, a self-confessed, convicted racist, the guy who was the anti-vaxxer crank who was alleging that the King's cancer was caused by vaccine or other forms of medication. And frankly, I think to answer the question, for people who are looking to identify just precisely what sort of party reform would be in government, for me, the conference raised a lot more questions than provided answers, to be honest.
Sarah, this was your first Reform Conference, I think. What did you make of it as a relative newbie?
Well, look, I thought the energy at the conference, the reaction from everybody there was truly inspiring, to be honest. And I think the conference was extremely professional in the way it ran. I would like to think that the key senior politicians, we all gave very good, very hard-hitting speeches with key messages in it. And the rest of it that Dan's referred to, okay, so, some of it was a bit of fun. We did have Lucy Connolly on the stage, but of course, for somebody like me who's going to take the justice brief, I'm very concerned about the two-tier justice that I speak a lot about that we're experiencing at the moment. And Lucy Connolly, yes, she did do something foolish, but the sentence...
Well, what did she do?
But hold on, let me finish.
You said she did something foolish. What did she actually do?
Well, we all know what she did. She put out a racist...
Tell people.
She put out a tweet. No, Dan, let me speak.
But what did the tweet say?
My point is it's about two-tier justice. So the sentence... I was a magistrate for 20 years. The sentence she got for what she did, she should have been rehabilitated in the community, not sent to prison and given a 30-month prison sentence. And we know that there are far more serious offences that get far less
But
of
why
a
have her on the
sentence.
conference platform?
Well, I think the point is it highlights two-tier justice, and certainly
You had a convicted racist on your platform who suggested that people should burn down migrant hotels. That is not the act of a serious political party.
When we get into power, one of the things that will be a priority for me is to regain control from the judiciary of the politicisation of the judiciary.
What about the Aseem Malhotra, who, as Dan just said, has made ridiculous accusations about how Prince Charles got his cancer through the COVID vaccine? I mean, again, how can anyone take a party seriously that platforms a man like that?
Well, look, I had all my COVID vaccines. He wasn't speaking as a reform policy.
He was on your platform.
He wasn't speaking for reform policy. He was giving his opinion. I, like I say, had all the COVID vaccines. I think the point is you're highlighting maybe some of the areas that are up for debate, but the hard-hitting message of the conference was very clear. We are the next party.
I mean, Andrea Jenkins, your mayor of Lincolnshire, comes onto the platform and belts out a sort of Lady Gaga song, and everyone's looking at each other thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Well, I can assure you won't be seeing anything like that from me.
Now, rumour is that you had to be persuaded not to do something similar, though. Would you like to tell us what that was?
That was just a bit of fun. So, no, I really don't know what you're referring to.
Yes, you do. Your plan was to come onto the platform, according to popular rumour, that you were going to wear a turquoise burqa.
I was just making the audience laugh. It's always good to come on with a little bit of a joke,
But
bit
you were
light-hearted.
persuaded not to, weren't you, by Richard Tice?
We had a bit of a giggle about it. We have a lot
Is it something to giggle about, though? Because, I know that was your first PMQ's question.
Yeah.
But again, if you had done that, you might got off a big round of applause in the hall, but the rest of the country would have looked on and thought, what on earth?
Iain, there was no way I would do that. And you know as well as I do that when you're giving a big speech like that, it's good to have a little bit of humour. It was just a gentle...
How is that humorous?
I think it was. And it was a gentle little bit of humour.
Why didn't you do it
in the light... Well, because that wouldn't have been humour then. That's taking it too far. But in the light of my PMQ, which I still stand by as being an excellent question, and I immediately widened up to the whole face covering issue of security and women's suppression.
Okay.
It's just a bit of light-hearted jesting.
Rosie.
Well, this would have been an opportunity for Reform to lay out some policies.
Which we did.
Well, not really.
We absolutely did. We're going to leave the ECHR. We're going to repeal the Human Rights Act. We're going to be the only party that sorts out this invasion of illegal migrants. What have you done about that? What have you actually done about the illegal migrant invasion? Nothing.
We've negotiated a deal with France.
No one's gone back. Nobody's gone back. And your new Home Secretary stopped the deportation flight on day one.
They're already being detained.
Come on, Rosie, no one's gone back.
Anyway, but
they could have gone back by now. If you were serious about it, you've been in government for a year, you've done nothing.
We've processed...
In fact, processed where?
Where
have they gone? They haven't gone back.
Okay, let Rosie speak.
We've deported record amounts of people.
You've deported ones whose visas ran out.
I want to go back because you're deflecting from talking about the Reform Conference because you clearly know you don't want to talk about the fact that there was very clear policies
I've just
laid
given
out.
You one very clear policy.
To give a platform to an anti-vaxxer, and you can say it's a bit of a joke, but it's not a bit of a joke. People look at political parties
I didn't say the anti-vaxxer was a joke. I said it wasn't Reform policy.
Those sort of people those platforms. But in all seriousness, people do have don't knows about the Reform Party. You say something and then you're like, well, that's not Reform policy, or we might do this, or 24 hours later we're going to roll back. We're not actually sure. You could have clarified some really clear points at this conference.
And we did.
And you didn't.
Yes,
people
we did.
Don't know what you stand for.
Rosie, we did. I said all sorts of things at my fringe. I did 2 fringe events and made it very clear.
Well, all everyone can remember is Andrea Jenkins singing.
Well, that's what people can away with. That's because the media want to talk about that instead of boring policy.
Okay.
The media want to talk about what you put in front of them.
All right, Ashley.
I think the conference showed this completely unserious about the problems facing the country, and that Britain's facing some very serious...
Why are they so popular?
Financial. They're popular because both the government and the official opposition are unpopular. And I totally get that a lot of former Conservative voters are really cheesed off with us. We made a lot of mistakes, and we need a period of reflection and humility to acknowledge that. But part of that is to analyse the problems the country now faces, which is an enormous and expanding fiscal deficit. And you ask yourself, what did Reform say about economics?
Oh my
and the answer
goodness, Ashley,
is almost
come on.
nothing.
You are all
They've
in
committed
denial.
It's his turn,
to almost unlimited welfare spending, and Nigel's saying he wants to get rid of the 2-child cap. Huge unfunded tax cuts.
We've told you how we fund it.
Populist, they are unserious. This is an attempt to grab votes here, there and everywhere, but without any sort of coherent
Can I
programme.
come back on that?
And the reason that they're enormously popular is the unpopularity of the other two parties. And between 1979 and 1983, you saw the SDP Liberal Alliance go up to 50% in the polls in very similar circumstances. And as the country approaches an election, people will then need to ask themselves, who do we want to govern us? And I don't think they're going to think the answer to that question is Reform.
Well, so far, after 14 months, there's no sign that they want the Conservative Party to govern them again.
And we were in power for 14 years, and it will take a little longer than that for people to reflect and for us to...
Longer than 14 years?
It'll take longer than 14 months. You know, we've been in opposition for 14 months. The next election, probably 28 or 29. There's enough time for us to develop a coherent programme, put to the country, and the chief problem that the country will face will be economic. And if Reform are serious about forming the next government, then they have to have a credible economic offering, which at the moment They do not.
Right, final word to you,
I
Sarah,
think
very
you're all in
briefly.
denial about why we are leading. We are clearly the real party of opposition because we reflect the views of the British people. And you can use the word populist. Populist, why is that word the way it is? It's because we are popular with the British people. You failed the British people for 14 years. You failed the British people, Rosie, for 14 months. The fact is we have got clear policies. We have said, I can go through them all now if we've got time.
So why does Nigel want to increase welfare spending at a time when we have a ballooning fiscal deficit?
No, so
other than
Lee,
to grub
stop.
votes in the north of
Lee
England.
Anderson has been appointed as our welfare spokesman.
Well, that fills us all with confidence.
Well, it should fill you all with confidence because Lee Anderson understands exactly what people need.
And you want to get rid of the two-child cap. You want to spend an extra £3 billion on welfare. Where's that money coming from?
Oh, says you who did nothing to sort it all out, the welfare state. We will get a grip of
You're
the welfare
one
state.
saying you want to spend an extra £3 billion on welfare.
And you know where we'll get
How
it
is
from?
it going to be paid
because
for?
already, so for example, you've got Richard Tice's savings of billions in the pension scandal. That is the local authority. You've got the let's get rid of
billions of pounds from pensions.
Yeah, massive. It's absolutely massive what's going on there. You've clearly not been briefed on. You've clearly not been briefed on that.
Tell us how this is going to fund those welfare spending.
Well, there's billions for a start. Then there's the net zero projects that are costing us billions, and we will, as we've said, we will make ourselves energy secure by bringing back our oil and our gas. We will, we've gone into, our Doge team is going into councils saving millions already.
My council is Reform.
Money to be saved. There's so much waste in the system that no one has attacked. So we are able to fund those policies.
But this sounds like Elon Musk, doesn't it? Lots of big promises that actually...
You're just running scared because you didn't fix these problems. You didn't fix these problems.
I'm asking you to say how you will fund the £3 billion extra pounds you want to spend on welfare.
And I've just told you.
I don't
And
know.
so my council, North Northamptonshire, has Reform leadership, and they're yet to find these millions.
Well, the Doge team is going into different councils. We can't do them all at once, but the councils that we have been in have found millions already.
Right. We could go on for the rest of the programme talking about reform, but we have other things to talk about too.